So as someone who tries to educate players on how to get better, it can sometimes be hard to relate to the issues that they're facing. Most high elo players got good at the game ages ago and are kind of on maintenance with their skill. Basically, they just practice to maintain their current skill level, and for the most part, they don't actively seek to improve because they don't have to, if that makes sense. Which brings me to what happened recently. If you watch streamers, you'll know that what most people do is kind of just sit around Masters Elo for faster queue times, but once or twice a season, generally at the end. Players will climb to Challenger because of the end of season rewards, or maybe some sort of self-fulfillment. And I'd say I'm essentially the same way. I don't really take League seriously for most of the year, except once to prove to myself that I can still climb to Challenger whenever I feel like it. Being bored with every other competitive game at the moment, that time was now for me. So I queued up trying harding, and well, I almost demoted to Diamond at a certain point, so the start wasn't great. And it wasn't an unlucky loser's queue streak or anything like that. I was just genuinely the reason I was losing most of these games. The realization that I might not be good enough to hit Challenger anymore has sunk in. The one thing that was holding my fragile self-esteem up has come crashing down, so that hasn't been great for mental health, but I would like to think that there's a positive to all this. I am once again in the learning seat, and I've got a motivation for League that I haven't had in years, so I figured, hey, this is a good opportunity to show you how I focus on learning and what I prioritize most to improve the fastest, so hopefully you can as well. This will be the first episode of a new series I'll be doing each week until I hit Challenger again. All of the episodes and full game commentaries and replay analysis of the journey can be found on our site, so check that out as well if you really want to learn how I identify and problem solve my issues while I'm trying to climb. And I believe there to be multiple things that are really hindering my gameplay right now, but there's two big culprits that I would say I'm prioritizing above everything else. So before continuing, I do want to say that it doesn't really matter how you react to your own mistakes. The way people respond to their own errors is generally pretty diverse. Some people laugh it off, others are like, alright, whatever, let's move on. Then there's the, alright, gotta focus up kind of players. Or maybe you're someone like me. I tend to get really angry at myself and I tilt out of my mind. Anyone who's ever played a competitive game with me definitely knows that. But regardless of what you're like, you should try to be fairly critical of your own mistakes. And I think that one of the biggest issues that almost all players have is that they're almost never critical enough of their mindless autopiloting. Without a doubt, I will always stand by my belief that fixing it is the fastest way of improving, so let me show you some examples of when it happened to me. Let's start with a basic example just to get a feel for it. I'm playing LeBlanc, I've got a lead in the game, and so far life is good. I notice a fight is going on in top, so I immediately rush to clear the wave so that I can maybe teleport up there. Without taking a second look at the fight to see what's going on, I just commit my teleport because why not? It's fun, haha. And that exact moment is why I mentioned the whole bit of how people react differently to their errors thing. The biggest fix to autopiloting, in my opinion, is to just spot it the second you do it every time, and I definitely spotted it here, which means at this very moment I was very angry with myself. And I took out those frustrations by committing a soft int type of play where I walk into the enemy jungle, not really caring what happens. And you can go and check if you're inclined to do so. The full game is on the commentaries page on the site. I did immediately call myself out on this play, again that being the most important part. Because if you call yourself out every single time, you're gonna begin seeing, wait a minute, this is a strategy game, and I'm not really thinking about half of the things I'm doing. Maybe I should try that. As I said, mindless autopiloting is a huge issue for me at the moment, and it happens multiple times every game for me. But there was a really great moment earlier in the game that might be an example a lot of you might not catch about yourselves. Let's check it out. As I'm laning in mid, I notice that Master Yi's ganking bottom. So I back off to my tower in case I need to teleport, but I don't really see an angle for it, so I don't. Zyra then begins running towards me in the river, so I end up collapsing. They kill her, but I get a return kill, yada yada. So this specific example is to show that you couldn't just pay someone to point out all your mistakes. This is a really common issue that I hear from a lot of players. What I did here was just as bad, if not worse, than what I did in the previous example, because I wasn't processing information. Let's hear in real time what I was thinking about this stupid play. I tried to burst him as quickly as possible so he couldn't react to my burst, but I didn't see if he had W or not. If he had W, I would just die there, so I'm pretty lucky that he didn't. I should have probably just let my Zyra die. Just because I got a kill does not mean that what I did was good. That was a really important point because I want you to imagine, let's say I was doing like a challenger earpiece with a random subscriber. I'd be like, yo, great map awareness, you spotted the gank instantly. Oh, yeah, good idea not to teleport there, you probably can't do anything. Why is your Zyra inting by running this way? Okay, try to collapse. Okay, nice. Good job. Good combo. I would be very proud of my subscriber because it was a completely fine play in my opinion. But in reality, it doesn't really matter what your play was or what the outcome of the situation turned out to be. All of that is generally irrelevant. What usually matters most is what was going through your head as you did it. And in my case, I was so zoned out that I didn't even spot the YW that happened right before me, so it was a really, really bad play. Now that you understand what I'm looking for in terms of mindless autopiloting, let's take a look at a final replay. It'll be of a problem I see a ton of players commit constantly, even professional players in competitive games, probably autopiloting. I'm gonna play the clip and see if you can spot it. I'm sure everyone has different answers here, but the main one I was looking for is, why am I auto-attacking Ziggs at all? Is there absolutely any purpose other than feeling good about myself that I get to hit him? No, because his health total is completely irrelevant for what I want to do next. The following play is pretty easy. I just push base, crash, then try to get back to freeze to force his teleport, and then yada yada yada. Okay, our health totals here are irrelevant, because I'm gonna base, and then I'm gonna force him to base, so why am I autoing him? So to me, who's trying to get better, this play was just so gross and barbaric even. I'm just playing on impulse, and it's pretty bad. And unlike the other two examples, this one actually has a gameplay consequence. Like I said, my goal was to shove, recall, and freeze after the kill, but as I'm walking back to lane, I'm just not in time to catch the wave. And if I'd been a bit faster, I probably could have, which would have forced the teleport out and put me in a much better position in the game. Moving on from mindless autopiloting, as I said, there's two immediate things that I'm working on. The second is my map awareness, specifically around my F key usage. So this is something I've been aware of for a while, but I've done nothing about it, and I think it's going to serve as a good example for how you can break some of your own bad habits. Let me tell you right now, I love comparing video game problems to actual real-world issues like alcoholism, so let's do it. So everyone knows that being an alcoholic is a bit of a bad habit, and I'm sure that most of them are actually quite aware of their own problem, usually. Similarly to how you can't just stop drinking, bro, sometimes your in-game bad habits, you can't just stop making them. They might exist for a reason. So let me share with you my personal reasons for why I've avoided incorporating F keys into my gameplay. One, I do content for SkillCapped obviously, and my main contribution tends to be low elo focused. I want you to imagine a video going, hey guys, today we're gonna learn some basic slow pushing fundamentals. Try to keep up as the screen flickers all over the map like Fakers does. Like, yes, of course, what he's doing is obviously very good and you should strive to do this, but it might not be the best for teaching all the time, especially for more basic concepts. The other major excuse I've given myself is that I tend to do multiple roles. So let's say one day I'm doing top lane. My F key for my jungler is F1, and for my ADC it's F3. But then the next day I'm just playing support, so my F key for my jungler is F2, and then my F key for my ADC is F4. Do you see how that's really annoying in terms of muscle memory? It's one of the major reasons why I never really bothered. Now there's a couple other reasons why I avoided them, but those were my two main excuses. What I recommend is to obviously first try to deal with your excuses, which thankfully mine got resolved automatically. I'm playing for my own learning mostly, so I don't care what my recordings look like. Also, like a normal player, I'm only focusing on one role for now, mid lane, with ADC as my secondary, I guess, which means that muscle memory isn't as big of a deal anymore. Unfortunately though, getting the excuses out of the way doesn't immediately fix the bad habit. The idea of going from no F key usage to spamming them for information is a bit much to just immediately implement. So I don't know if this next step works for everyone, but it's personally what works for me on a lot of stuff, and it's self-compromise on the issue. So here's what I told myself. I'm only going to do it when I see action on the map, so the enemy icons interacting with my team icons. And you can see that here. In between auto attacks, I'm F-keying the bot lane since I saw a fight happening. Obviously, I can't actually impact this fight realistically, but the compromise was that I'd at least look if I saw it happening. So the end goal of the compromise isn't to barely implement something. Let me give you an example by how you'd apply this to yourself. Let's say that you're a scaling, gathering, storm type of player, and you have the bad habit of literally never trading with your opponent. Your goal every game is play safe, farm, and press your buttons late game. But you're starting to realize, man, as I climb, I have no pressure in lane. My opponent's always roaming. Maybe I should try to pressure the lane more, but I always default to playing safe. Well, a self-compromise you can make is simply to tell yourself, I'm gonna trade 2 times every single game no matter what. It can be a good or a bad trade, but I will do it. So this idea is similar to that gym advice. I forget who said it, but basically you tell yourself that you're gonna go to the gym, but you're only gonna walk for 10 minutes, or maybe you'll just sit down and browse your phone. So you go to the gym because it's like, I don't have to work out, I'm just gonna go chill. But then once you're actually at the gym, you're like, I may as well work out while I'm here. Likewise, for our example, if you're forcing yourself to take some trades, you may as well take good trades, and then you're going to start seeing patterns for what good trades look like, which means you're just going to start taking them in general, compromise or not. And that's exactly what's beginning to happen to my F key usage. I'm just naturally pressing them more and more randomly since it's becoming kind of a habit for me now. Unfortunately, this lets me see what my jungler is up to more often, which tilts me out of my mind, leading to a whole other world of problems, but we're not quite there yet. Anyway, I hope you found this episode interesting. Since I've made this guide, I've climbed a lot, and you can follow that journey as I climb over at SkillCapped. So definitely check that out, and we have a link in the description which you can use to save some cash as well. Thanks for watching.